This is an M-rated game, so viewer discretion is advised. She Sees Red. It is no secret that I love full-motion video games, as I've actually supported one financially a few years ago named The Tesla Effect, and I also reviewed it. There's usually only two different kinds of full-motion video games. Ones that mix real gameplay and video, like The Tesla Effect, or even Night Trap, and the ones that are just films that play out like a choose-your-own-adventure game. And this is the latter. This one reminds me more of another game I reviewed called The Late Shift. That was just an interactive movie, and personally I think it was better than this one, mainly because the narrative made way more sense. That's not to say I didn't follow the plot in this title, as I mostly did. There were just a few things that were not clear, and the last minute scenes that showed years in the past didn't help. The story mostly takes place in two time periods, one a couple hours in the past and one in the present time. A police inspector has come on a tip that someone has been killed, and she strangely moves through the facility retelling the events that just happened here. Kind of like a psychic, and everyone just takes her word on it. It was beyond odd. The past part of the story is where most of the choices are going to show up, and you're basically deciding where the detective will go with the story in the present. Will you decide to kill someone to escape, or will you take a more stealthier action? This has multiple endings, some good and some bad. I wish I could say I saw the true definitive ending, but I'm not really sure I did. I know who I wanted to survive at the end, and I guess that when they did, I should call that the good ending. But what if they both die? Is that the neutral ending? The ending is so abrupt that it makes it hard to really gauge whether the journey was worth it. What really wasn't worth it was the nudity in this game. This is my 996th video, and I can say this is the first time I've ever had to deal with this before, as far as I can remember. Sure, I did kind of an After Dark review series where I reviewed M-rated games that were more adult, but it never went that far. There is a very brief female nude scene. The way it was framed was so pointless. If they had cut out 2 seconds of it, the story wouldn't have been affected at all, and they could have had the same scene just since everything after that it's just covered up. There really was no reason for it at all. The Switch did have some issues with the video. It became really jerky and not smooth at all at certain points. Not as bad as Troll and I, but it was very noticeable. This is a Russian film dubbed into English, as well as a plethora of other languages as well. I have no issues with the voice actors that they used, as they did a fine job replicating the voices and inflections of the actions on the screen. Visually, everything was really dark. I think this was all supposed to take place in a nightclub, but there were times where I thought it was a hotel, and then a warehouse. It didn't feel like a connected place, but it felt like more like they had locations they could shoot in, more than this is actually a place that exists. They do let you skip scenes after you've gone through the story twice. You're going to want to do that to see how your choices would change, so you can see what the best path is. However, I did have this game crash on me once, and I was in the middle of the second playthrough, and it made me restart from the beginning of the second playthrough. Thankfully, the movie only takes about 30 minutes to finish, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. It was just more annoying. She Sees Red is okay at best. The bland environments and the characters they were interacting with didn't help. When I put this up against other movie games that I reviewed, there isn't any competition. The Late Shift was definitely better. It had multiple locations they went to, well-lit environments, and the film even looked better. This felt like a low-budget movie that they cut up into a game. That being said, I liked the action sequences, and only being 30 minutes a session, it didn't overstay its welcome. This is normally $9.99, and that price is not too out of line for what is essentially a movie. However, I would still say wait for this to go on sale if you're interested, but I would say under $5. There really isn't much here. The story is pretty average, and you can pretty much guess the twist in this movie. If you're looking for a film with multiple choices on the Switch, there are better options, but if you're still interested, wait for this to go on sale.